This is the January 18th, 2022 Marketing Committee meeting.
Of the Troy Community. This is a meeting of the Troy Community Land Bank's Marketing Committee. And our members who are all present are myself, Andrew Cooper, Jeanette Nicholson, and Tony Tazi, the executive director. Okay. So as far as I know, we have two topics to discuss, one being the website and the other being working with Howard Hanna and, you know, the real estate marketing stuff. So let's start with the website.
Well, you saw what I sent to you guys as a link. I assume you had a chance to take a look at it. Jeanette, before you got on, what I was saying, it looks just like our current website, and I'm positive that I saw an iteration that was more advanced than what we have, or at least it looked like a nicer, more attractive site. This, to me, it looks like what we have now. And I was saying earlier, the only advantage that there might be is that we get off GoDaddy, which would be a big advantage, I think, I hope. And it's, with Concrete 5, I've been told and I've been shown that it's much easier to work with than WordPress. So I'm just kind of, I don't understand what happened to the site.
Did he have an explanation?
No, not really. He wanted to talk to me before the meeting, but I frankly didn't want to talk to him until we had our meeting. I talked to him last week. I think it was Thursday or Friday of last week. He said he'd be sending me out a link, and I was expecting to open it up and, be pleased as punch. And that wasn't how I felt when I opened it. I didn't have time to try. I didn't have time to go trying to see if there's an old link that I could pull up to see what previous iterations look like. I don't think there is probably such a link, because this would be either a modification of that link, or they would have replaced that link with what they sent yesterday.
Okay, I know a lot of what's on there that has not changed that we wanted changed is our fault, like the picture, because we haven't given them any pictures.
Yep,
But
I understand that.
so we can't blame them for that. But
Is there a reason?
yeah, I mean, I tabbed through all of the tabs and everything, and it's certainly functional, but it's not worth $10,000
No.
for, in terms of style. And then with the upcoming contract for upgrades and whatnot, seems like we got shafted, but I don't know. Seems like we get shafted a lot.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel that way.
Every time we turn around, somebody's sticking a knife in, but I don't know what to say other than that. I'm sure Andrew has more website experience than I do. I just click on them.
I don't know that I do. I mean, it's hard to, I look, I spent 15, 20 minutes looking around, and I don't, like, it's hard to even know where to begin or what to say. Like, what's our feedback on this? I mean, it's a website, it has stuff. Like, what's our expectation? My overall impression was, for a professional product, which, I mean, I don't know, in the realm of web design, where 10K puts us. Is that low rent? Is that, a good price? Is that a lot? It's not. I mean, I'm sure you could spend more, right? But it doesn't feel like, I don't know, overall, it doesn't feel like there's anything, like there's any overall design. It's just like a bunch of stuff. Like,
Yeah, it seems like
there an
a basic
identity that we-
template.
Yeah,
Like they
like,
just fed our stuff into a, you
yeah,
know,
just
the
a basic,
nonprofit template.
right.
You know,
And-
it almost looks to me like whatever they had in previous iterations somehow got deleted. And they kind of rushed and threw this together.
Yeah.
And that's what it
or
looks like to me.
They found some underlying like significant issue that like sometimes, and that can happen, right? Like you get to a point in a complicated thing when you're like, I just have to trash this and start over because I can't undo what I've done. And it's all so tangled up that, that can happen. But yeah, like my overall expectation is that it looks like something that was professionally done and has like some like that you can see there's a design. I'm looking at it now. I got it on the screen half and half. And I'm like, I mean, just a bunch of stuff. And some of the feedback that I thought we gave or that I gave, it is still there. Like there's still a link to on the bottom to Instagram, right? We don't have Instagram, do we? Or do we? Maybe that was Twitter. I forget.
I don't think we have either one.
No,
Yeah,
we
like,
don't have either
what are
one.
these? Like, get rid of this crap. Just
Yeah,
if
well, there are things like that. I think I mentioned in my email yesterday that on the cover page, they've got my email address correct. And then as the contact, and then when you go to the contact page, they have a different email address for me that doesn't exist. So, there are things like that I'm sure can be easily straightened out. But, and maybe we're just not there
that's
yet.
endpoint stuff though. Like you were saying with the pictures, right? Like those, yes, that needs to be done, but you don't worry about we start with here's the overall design. And we sort of did start there, right? Like
We
gave us
did.
that front stuff and we gave feedback and some of that is different here, although it's still the basic like header and then a scrolly thing in the middle and then buttons on the bottom. But they're like even those don't come together for me. It's like three different things. I'm no expert at design, but it just doesn't
Pop.
we live our lives on the internet and this doesn't look like anything to me. It just, I know that's not good feedback. So I do wonder
What are our options?
Yeah.
what has transpired and what is our understanding of how this should proceed from here?
Yeah.
And how long will it take?
Well, and that's part of it, right? Like, what's our timeline?
Yeah.
Are we on that time? Was it
Oh,
supposed
yeah.
to be done? Are they late? I don't even remember at this point. Which
They're late.
Yeah, it was probably a 12-month thing. I remember Kate saying, because this is the company Kate worked with in Cohoes. I remember her saying that they were very slow over there, but that there were reasons for it. There were Cohoes related reasons.
Are these the same reasons, Tony?
I don't think so, because we
Well-
definitely have given guidance. Here's one example is the search link that Andrew wanted really badly. We talked early and often, and the final, the last iteration before yesterday's, we were told it doesn't really make sense to have that because you're always going to have to try to maintain it, and people are going to get frustrated because if you don't maintain it and they're looking for something and they can't find it, they're going to get frustrated. Why didn't he say that when we met the first time?
Well, I think that we had this conversation and I said, well, how come I see a Google search on every site I ever go to that's run by Google, that Google indexes the world? And are you saying that doesn't work at all? Because I'm pretty sure Google is pretty smart and they know something.
A little smarter than
And maybe there's more to that, but I don't accept their answer that you don't want that.
Right. Can't we just say, look, this is unacceptable, and until you give us more of what we want, and let us see it and have it work, we're not moving here. I mean, what's the point of, we could have this discussion in another freaking month.
Yeah, I'm looking at the November communication, and
Just endless crap.
Yeah, no, there really hasn't been much done. I mean, and even when I said to him, can we meet? He said, well, you're perfect. Your call is perfectly timed. My top designers are in it right now, putting on the last touches. I'll give you a call next week. So he called me in a week and said, well, my team's not quite done with it. So then what I got was the link I shared on Monday, which doesn't look like a crack team really put it together. I'm looking at the email that I sent to him as a result of the November marketing committee meeting. There's 13 things on here. And I don't see that any of this has really been done. I mean, some of it we have to do, like the bios.
But all
Makes-
that can be there. There can be a structure. They can have our names. They can, and that's how you do it anyway. Like, you don't put 100% every place and nothing somewhere else. You build a framework and then you fill it in.
Yeah.
And that the
Yeah.
point of filling it in is that it's easy to change. Like, the framework is still there. Like, that was your main criteria, is I need something that I can update, or whoever can update.
Yeah.
Which means it should all be here, and they do have placeholder stuff and the stupid Latin. I say that's stupid because I feel like people use that because I think it looks smart. And I'm just like, you can put in your bio goes here. Like, put it in plain English so that people know what is supposed to be there. If you're presenting it to us, who it's what we want, make sure we understand what it is that we're looking at instead of Latin.
No, you're right. They could have filled in our names and then said bio forthcoming or something like
Yeah,
that.
like, or even placeholder. This will
Yeah.
be blank. Like, just keep it. I don't know.
Create the
Well-
framework.
Why don't we do this? Because these things are always a give and take, and they're going to say, well, we couldn't do this, that, and the other because you haven't sent us this, that, and the other. So why don't we do our end, get our bios together, get our photographs together, and get that to them?
Is that
And
the
then-
most important thing though, Suzanne?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm kind of with you
No,
on that.
it's
Sure,
not.
we could do
It's
that,
not, but
but
it's
that's
it's their excuse. It's an excuse. Well, we
Well,
haven't done this
why the hell
because,
don't we send them pictures of North Central as opposed to our bio?
Well, that's
I
the
mean,
idea.
well, yeah, that's what I said. Send them the pictures, send them the bio, send them whatever we have not sent them that we are supposed to send them. And then it's on them and we can harass them eternally because we've done our end.
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely should have, especially since we have concerns, like some measurable progress that we can evaluate. I mean, just like if this was a building. I mean, right, Tony, let's turn this into a building. Where's our punch list here? Of,
Don't go there.
Oh,
Andy.
we've given them a couple of punch
Yeah,
lists.
don't bring up our buildings, please.
Oh, we've given them a couple of punch lists.
yeah, well, we did. I mean, I click on the calendar link and it's blank. Like, there should be a blank calendar. Okay, there's no meetings on it, but it should be there,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, you're right.
And that,
Yeah, there's way more important stuff
sure
than
they
our
know what
bio
month it
that
is.
needs to be there.
Well, I'm not focusing on the bios. It's just that that's something that we could do.
as an example, it's a good example. Like, we give
Yeah,
them stuff and
of
say,
course
show us
it's-
this actually works, because right now we don't see it working.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, we talk to our lawyer and say, what exactly, you know, are the parameters if we're not clear of this contract, and if they're not, at what point are they not meeting it? And as much as it disgusts me to think that we would then not get a finished product. I don't know.
Well, one other factor in this is, I budgeted $5,000 in my last enterprise community update, and we just received our final disbursement. So if this website is not done and he's not paid $5,000 by March 31st, then I have to have a conversation with Tanya that I'd rather not have.
Yeah, and because then we haven't spent the money that we said we were going to spend that they gave us, and
And
And then we have
yeah,
to explain, well, why didn't we spend it, which is.
right, which
have a
leads to that conversation
failed
about you
project.
people can't
Yeah.
ever get anything done, blah,
Yep.
blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah, which is not a, I mean, that's not a reason, that shouldn't guide what we
Our
do.
actions.
I'm with you that we would prefer not to have that.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I
so
actually
how
thought
do
it
we
would
avoid
be
it?
helpful to get this thing going, because I said to Rick, March 31st, I've got to have this done and I have to have you paid, or I have to find $5,000 from someplace else. And I have to have a conversation with my primary funder that I don't want to have.
Yeah,
So he knows that, and we still got the link we got. So
Well, can
I'm-
we make another punch list and emphasize the easy stuff that they could do? And, at least they can do something.
I mean, I don't know what the best approach is. That is certainly the conversation we need to have, that here's things that are missing and when are these gonna be done and how are they gonna be done?
what if we
I'd
did
be curious
punch
what they
lists?
think is missing. Like, that's where I would want to start
if we
this
did two-
conversation.
What if we did 2 punch lists, one for him and one for us? And we committed to getting certain things done on our end to get to that, to get to him. I mean, some of it doesn't have to get to him by March 31st, but some things do, like everything that needs to be posted on Paris, the board resolution, all that stuff. And a lot of it's on
Calendar.
there. Yeah, and a lot of it's
Calendar.
on there. So that's a good thing. The more
Where-
important things are mostly populated. So
Are the pictures there? No.
no, none of the pictures are.
So
That's
how
that's on our-
difficult is that to send to him?
Well, we just have to do it. We haven't done it.
There are
yeah.
no pictures of North Central that are available that,
Well, I have some, but I mean, I forgot, frankly. And so we need another punch list.
oh, Jesus.
Does that make sense to come up with 2 punch lists?
And it's not just,
I think
it's not just on me either. So, instead of, oh, Jesus, you could go out and take some pictures. We're all in this together.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a ton of pictures, but they're not going to be the prettiest things to look at unless you have an after picture to go along with it.
Right. But even just, I don't
Well,
know.
giving them, the pictures they have now are ones they sourced, right?
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Think
that
it's
doesn't
worse.
demonstrate that they're even, they're sort of doing whatever they want. Well, we want to make sure they're doing what we want them to do. So
Right.
it is at least some kind of improvement that if we give them a picture.
Suzanne, isn't there some stuff from Breathing Light still around maybe?
Yeah, I'm sure I can get them from Barb, and I have a couple that I took.
Just that way, I mean, those are, definitely in our target area. They're available. They were probably, I don't know. I mean, I sort of remember them being pretty good. There were some.
Yeah, I
video
have some
shots
I
even.
took from the building across the street from me, but I'm sure I can get some nice ones from Barb Nelson.
Do we know exactly how many pictures we need? Like, so this is we're putting together our list here, right?
Well, we need the cover shot. I don't know if that can be a one picture or a compilation or whatever. Probably one picture is better.
Is it, Tony, is it our sense that they have presented themselves as having some skill in design, and can we give them a bunch of stuff, pictures, and they can think, given you have to pick from this bunch, a collage, make a collage, or pick a good one that's a good cover, or are they just want us to say, here's the thing you put there?
Sorry, they do have a Google search thing here. You can
What?
barely see it. We could do that. Well, we can certainly absolutely positively do that and ask them to use their artistic expertise to, put something together that looks nice. They don't know North Central like we do. So what we might get back might not be something we're entirely thrilled with, but then it would just need to be revised. So it's not a big deal.
I
At
mean, yeah,
least-
swapping
at
out a
least it'd be
picture, I don't
something.
think should be hard. Like, there are at least pictures on those pages, and those pictures can be changed. It's just put the image and change the link to the different image. Now, maybe it doesn't fit as well, and they might have to tweak stuff, or I don't know the nitty gritty.
Like
But
54 Fifth Avenue, Tony, don't we have before and after pictures there?
Yeah, we definitely do. That's when I said we, the
At
pictures
least
I have
there's
are
one.
ugly pictures. Well, that and 11 Winnie, that didn't come out nearly as nice, but there are after pictures of it, and the interior shots aren't so bad. They're not,
So,
they're not great, but.
So why don't we
um,
do this? Why don't we make our 2 punch lists and, disseminate them to ourselves, and we can get on ours, and we can, you're going to have to tell them, reiterate the whole March breakout thing, and that, they can't BS us anymore.
and maybe talk to Kate too and see what she has to say about what we can do to spur their activity, or what we can do to prod them along to meet the contract. If
Yeah, that might actually,
this is just.
I can
you
picture
know,
Kate calling Rick up and saying, you're embarrassing me because I recommended you guys to this board and you're not coming through.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see Kate sinking her teeth into Rick.
yeah, I also wonder if there, is there something that they, or some things besides content, that they need from us that they're not getting and somehow haven't explained, for overall design, I don't know. You have that impression that they're like, well, we can't, and I don't mean by way of an excuse, but they're like, we just really don't know what to do because you haven't gotten a clear message from the land bank. Which could be a fair issue, but I feel like we would have heard that if Tony from you. But I'm just checking to be sure.
Yeah, no, it's what we've been asked for is content. But Berta spent a lot of time with him, and frankly, she knows a lot more about websites than I ever dreamed she did. And I'm scrolling through email back and forth between Rick and she and I, and it feels to me like a lot of the stuff she suggested to him didn't get done. So I can go through that and see what I can pick out, like, okay, Rick, what happened to this? What happened to this?
Okay, well, that's good to hear that there has been more communication and back and forth, because all of that is opportunity for them to see clarification if they, because it's the classic excuse is, well, you never told me that that's what you wanted or whatever.
No, we did. So we
And
have
so I
over
didn't
and
want
over
to
and over again.
clarify that. Can I just say, so I'm looking at the site here. You said there is a search. I see a little Google thing up in the corner. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
That looks
when
like
when
a
I
Google Translate link to me.
oh,
to,
you
like,
know what? You're right.
Change the
That's what it
language
is.
to something else.
Yeah,
Which is
we
great.
did
It
ask
should
for
also
that.
be here, right? Like if they can use even a basic translation software to switch this to Spanish or any other language we think might be commonly used by a potential.
That was something we told them we had to have on there to meet the state's requirements.
But it's not clear. Like that should be.
I know.
Like what is that's nothing. It's some little icon in the corner. Like
I know.
nobody knows what that is. It should be a big drop down that has like
Yeah, that says habla español,
whatever,
click
yeah,
here.
or some as common an identifier as they can come up with, which they should know because it's their business to know that people will go to. That has to be immediate, because if you it's just like when you call the phone thing and it says press 2 for Spanish is like the second thing you hear, because obviously you can't, if you're not an English speaker, then you don't know what all the other stuff is saying.
Yeah.
So it needs to be up front.
I have a
well-
question. Go ahead. Sorry.
Nope, nope.
No, I was just going to ask. I'm looking at the resolutions tab, and there are a whole lot. This is I'm
there's
I'm only
anything there.
looking at 2021.
Yeah, there's nothing
There are
there.
a whole lot of tabs that are empty.
Yeah, and I
And
don't,
Is
they-
that because we have to we have to give them that info, or is that something you can do after it's set up, or
no, this is,
they
this
just
is,
haven't done it?
we did give him some stuff. And this is stuff that Burdick got to him. But there definitely is stuff that he needs to,
Yeah,
Well-
it seems like if we don't have any resolutions, that it should say no resolutions passed or something like that. So
actually,
it doesn't
other,
look like we just too lazy to fill it in.
other than this year, the resolutions appear to be populated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Listen, like the resolution thing is good in that it is a structure and a basic design, and it shows us how it's going to work. And okay, there's things missing, but those are two different things. Now this design is like, it couldn't be more basic.
yeah,
And it's
Yeah, it's not going to win any awards, that's for sure.
black and white. I mean, there's not even any branding here. Like, it's just blah. But that is one issue. But does it work? Yes. And you can see where stuff would go and how it would work. Great. Right. Like, so I think it's important to notice those two things. What I just realized, since we're talking about resolutions, I have never seen a website where the contact wasn't to the far left. Why is contact one before like it's contact and then resolutions? Is it the far left at the top? Contact is always all the way to the left, isn't it? Is it just me? Like, isn't it always the very last one? I don't know.
all the way to the left or all the way to the
Yeah,
right?
all the way to the left or to the right. I'm sorry, wait,
Okay.
whichever. That's how you're
The
looking at
other
it.
left.
Like, contact's always the last thing, and it's not. I just realized that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is
I
kind
never
of
realized
buried
that, but I
in
think you're
there.
right.
And why? Like, is there? I don't know if there's a reason for that. Should it be that way? But then it's not. It just seems weird, and it just like, where's the? That's just one of those things that makes it look like it's a bunch of stuff that just was put on the page without any like design intent here. Like, what was there an internal logic to this, or it's just put stuff out there and click around and I don't know.
think-
Anyway,
I think I might ask him if he could send me links of earlier renditions. Because I think that would tell
Well, or
me
at
a
least
lot.
ask, there used to be different stuff and more stuff, and what happened and why did it
Yeah.
change?
Well, I know some of it dropped out when, we were gonna put a focus on our community liaison and then Berta left, so
Right,
that kind of
Right,
went. But there just seems to me that there were a lot of things that are supposed to be here, and I can't even like think of what they were looking at this site.
Didn't we want to link to the MLS? On
Well,
our
that's, yeah, that absolutely positively is something we said we needed.
Not seeing that. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
what that would look like. Again, I'm just seeing,
That goes back to your, your structure issue.
Yeah.
So
and
we
weren't
haven't
gonna
gotten that yet, but he
Weren't we
could
going to
plug it in.
feature the real estate agent, with their logo or something like that somewhere?
Yeah, I really think that should be, one of the things that's front and center. So,
or at least front and center on the properties page.
yeah, or both.
We're both, yeah. That's one of the things I always wonder about. Like, does it make more sense to have stuff multiple places or only one place? So that
I
people
mean,
aren't always just
Personally,
wandering.
I think it's better to have it in multiple places because if you don't happen to see it in one place, or you're on a page.
Yeah, oh yeah,
for-
no, that there's a sense to that too. That's why I always struggle with them. Like, I could sort of see. I guess if there's too many things that are too many places, then it's just a big mess.
Yeah,
Like, as long as you prioritize the things, and that's what I'd want these experts to do to say, these are you can't have more than 5 things that are on the front page and on other places. But so pick 5 or pick 3 or 2. It's like, or like a billboard, right? 7 words. You only get 7 words on a billboard or
I
whatever.
didn't know that.
Don't hold me to it, but there's like some minimum number of words on a billboard because you're driving so fast, you can only process so much in a car at a speed. So they're like, you can only have so many words, or not that they listen to that, but it's
Or we
paragraphs.
could all just slow down.
Well, yeah, but that's not going to happen.
It's not for me.
So we got a bit of a list. Do we have other things? Is anyone right? I started writing a few down and then I stopped.
Yeah, same here.
Realtor, links to MLS. Those are not things, again, we don't need to tell them. So yeah, we've had some changes with our brokers and realtors information, but there could still be a box that says link to MLS here.
Yeah.
Realtor bio, contact info,
Search.
search box. Yeah, like, I mean, they don't want to do the search. There's got to be a reason for that, but, and maybe there's a good, maybe there is a good reason. I don't know.
Well, he gave the reason for it.
He gave a reason.
He did.
Well,
He did.
is the search supposed to be an internal search within the site, or is the search a search
site.
that
can
one
work
can, go outside of the site to find something else?
Well, I mean, I believe this was like my thing that I've been pushing for, and my intent was of the site.
Okay.
Yeah, I seen it work both ways, and frankly, the ones that are virtually a Google search, for the entire internet, they drive me nuts. The state has those, and I can never find anything because a billion things pop up.
There is some, I think, believability in their argument that a really good search that's just for the site requires constant maintenance. Yeah, okay, sure. But does that mean we don't have, is a generic one not going to be any good? I don't know. They should give us credit and say, well, here's your options, and this is what we think would be the result, and the pluses and the minuses.
We could always ask them to put the search box there, and let's see if we can keep up with maintaining it. If we can't, we'll just.
Sure. Well, yeah. Like, so what do you mean it takes a lot of work? What does that mean? It takes an hour a month. It takes 12 hours a month. It takes someone who's an expert in doing stuff, or it takes someone to log in and hit a button that says re-index every week.
I mean, that's a good question to ask him, but I'm thinking if I'm going in and I'm posting new meeting agendas, new files, then I guess it would have to be a habitual practice that while I'm doing that, I'm also updating the search box. I don't know how you do that, but I'm sure that's part of the training.
Right, exactly. What is that? And what are we getting for our maintenance for them? They don't do that. What are they maintaining? Right, like we're paying them for something.
They do a small amount of maintenance as part of the contract. I don't know how much, I forget. But then there are monthly fees for maintaining the certificates and all the stuff that goes with websites.
Yeah.
So
it's just like, I don't like the answer that, I mean, why aren't they saying, well, sure, we could do that. We can make it great. It will cost you $200 a month, but we'd be delighted to offer that service. Like, why wouldn't they try to sell that to us?
They have. That was part of their original. I forget exactly how it was laid out to us, but
Okay.
I know that they had different a la carte options for us to choose from.
Mm-hmm. All right. So yeah, that is, I mean, I sort of would expect that. And sometimes that stuff is a cash grab, and sometimes it's like, no, this takes a lot of work and we can do it, but we just don't think it's a good value for you. And it's not, like, okay, I just like more. That's just me. I like all the details in making decisions, but
Yeah.
anyway.
More's better than
Okay.
not enough.
So action items, we're going to do the 2 lists and take care of our end and make sure they take care of theirs, basically. Right?
Yeah, and I will, the other thing I'll say, in fairness to Rick, 2 things happened on this that I don't think are his fault. One is we ran out of money. So I didn't want him to finish the website because I had no money to pay him. That was a factor for a short period of time. The other was, I think he started about this time last year. And I do remember telling him, well, whenever he started, I do remember telling him when February and March hit, I'm not, I'm not gonna have much time to do much to help you because I'm gonna be in a whole different stratosphere with other things. So, and we're entering into that period now. So I think I'm going to try to just press upon him. We've got to get this done because March 31st coincides with, several important
Reporting.
deadlines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
Well, I
the
think
end
if
of
we get
funding.
if we get Kate on his butt, that might help too.
Kate has a
so
way
are
of
we each
motivating
gonna
people.
send in whatever we've gleaned from this conversation about punch list items to combine together? Is that
Yeah.
how this is gonna work?
Well, if
Or
If-
how would it work?
what if we all just like emailed a group email that kind of went back and forth for a few days? And then I can break that into 2 punch lists.
Well, how
And,
about if we put it in a Google Doc and then we can add or then there's not a succession, a
Yeah,
whole bunch of
tracking the
emails
emails
that
after 3 or 4 or 12 rounds gets.
yeah.
I'm
So
with
if
you
we
on
put it in
that.
a Google Doc, we can make edits to the doc and we don't have to send 100 emails.
okay,
Works for me too. Yeah, if someone, Tony, can you put?
yeah, we've got a, I forget what ours is called, but I can do that.
Yay. So
Yeah.
we're done with this for now. We can move
Sure.
on. Our second topic du jour is working with the realtors and any concerns, problems, whatever's with that. I have a question. I looked at both of the listings, the Winnie and the Fifth Avenue, and the pictures are horrible. It looks like she took them running through the room. Some of them are actually blurry. I don't know if she did a video and then, made stills from the video, but the quality isn't very good. And I also have issues with, especially on Fifth, the house looks horrible from the outside. And I troll real estate sites all the time just for fun, and I wouldn't even click on it looking at that house from that picture. Now that's not their fault. That's our fault. But discuss.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
for 54, when I was putting some stuff together for Tanya and I think for the board, I did not lead with the facade because it's exactly what you say. It's like, it's the least attractive feature of the house, unfortunately. The interior came out really well. And it all comes down, but not all of it. Most of it comes down to we just couldn't get a painter to the point where I was going to paint it and then just ran out of weather to do it. So, but I asked Sherry, what's the value in that? How much property value did we lose? And she said probably $5,000 to $10,000. So the satellite dish, that would take me 10 minutes and a ratchet set to pull off the wall. So, or I could ask Ryan to do it. So I just haven't gotten that done. So I apologize for that.
Well,
So in terms of marketing though, is if that shouldn't be the lead picture, right? But you're saying it is the facade? Is that what, like, in the listing? Or is it just
yeah,
one?
they always lead with the facade.
Yeah, so why would they do that? So should we suggest that they don't? And then should the listing address, like, acknowledge that the house needs paint? And is that reflected in our asking price? Like, shouldn't that all be there just to sort of be upfront about it? Or, I mean, I don't know if that, I'm not a realtor, so I don't know.
Yeah, that I don't. I'd have to ask Sherry that.
What was the asking price? Just, she mentioned when I went through it with her, she said something about $180,000, which I thought at the time was sort of high, and I guess I still do, but,
It's, I'm pretty sure I was off $100,000 the other day, so I'll try to be a little more accurate.
yes,
I think it's $174,777
is the ask.
is the ask. And we had someone submit a full price offer, but they weren't sure whether or not they wanted to,
That, you're talking about 11 Winnie, right?
no, 54. We had someone who owns property and lives on Hudson Avenue in Albany. And she submitted a full offer bid. And I told Sherry, we always, every day up and down, want to fill these with owner occupants, preferably first-time homebuyers. And she said, when I said that to this person, she said she's not sure whether she does or does not want to move into it. And I said, well, whenever somebody says that to us, that really means that they don't want to move into that, especially if they own a house someplace else.
I guess I'm just confused, Tony, because if I remember your email correctly, you were off 100,000 on 11 Winnie, and that turned out to be 174,000. Not 50. Is 54 the same price?
54 Fifth Avenue is $174,777. Winnie, I believe, is 155,777.
Well, then I guess I must be confused as well.
Well, I might have been the reason you're confused. Maybe
Anyway,
I transfixed the numbers.
Anyway, as far as marketing this, Richard Herrick, God bless him,
Who's probably going to be watching this.
yeah, he submitted the ad, the listing, and he wanted to put it on the Troy Land Bank Facebook page, and his submissions, I think everyone's actually, are held until they're approved, and I did not approve it, and I told him so. And first of all, I didn't approve it because we don't need Richard doing our work for us. We can do it ourselves. Thank you. And secondly, I didn't want that house on Facebook with the exterior and getting 500 comments about how trashy it was and how awful we were and we're ripping people off and nobody's going to pay that and blah 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 blah. So the listing is not on Facebook, on our Facebook page. It should be. All of our listings should be, but so I'm just looking for guidance from the committee as to how we should proceed with this kind of stuff.
I'm with you. We should be posting things to the page.
Yeah, definitely. And the other
100%.
thing was, I didn't even know the listing was live. We're going to have to coordinate with the brokers to let us know when they're going to put it up, because we
Excellent.
can't do anything if we don't know about it.
Yeah.
Well, that's on me too.
Well, but they don't have to even go, like, we should be able to tell them, if Suzanne is running all the Facebook page, then
She should be the
just
contact.
email her directly. Like they don't have, I mean, they CC include you, but they don't have, you don't have to be the one who passes that along. Like,
Right.
Well, I
so,
think
right?
that, I think that's just a coordination thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure Sherry, I'm sure I didn't say anything to Sherry that Suzanne's our Facebook person. Because my life, I try to live without Facebook, so I don't think of it very much. But it is the way of the world, so, I am very confident that Sherry could provide you with pretty good information to post to Facebook, though.
Yeah, I'm sure she would. I
Yeah,
just,
so that's
you know,
just a like, so okay, we learned something here. This is the first round, then
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
get them to do that. Although, we shouldn't have to, but do we want to take a look at their listings before they post them? If they're
Yeah,
these
I think,
pictures, like,
I mean, not just the marketing committee, I think A&D should, or all of us should.
or even just the
Um,
pictures,
yeah, the
not the
pictures more than
listing.
anything else.
Yeah, like, I mean,
Yeah, this, this is different because, when things go to A&D, I was thinking about this, several times. So Sherry has her process, which is what every realtor goes through. You submit an offer, blah, blah, blah. And then we have our process where they have to fill out a purchase application. These are the first buildings we'd have that have been renovated for sale. So, I've been trying to think through, how is this? It seems to me there's going to be conflict between what Sherry has to do and what we have to do. And, I'm just worried that the bureaucracy of both are going to conflict with each other in bits and pieces. So,
yeah,
Well,
that's a
maybe we should
concern, right?
have
Like,
them. Go ahead, sorry.
I just, I could say, yeah, I agree, and I'd be concerned if those kind of delays get in the way of sales closing, right? Like we have to respect both parts of that. You know, I don't know that I just think we need to find the best way to
Maybe
coordinate.
maybe we should have a meeting with her and we can just see who needs to do what, where, when.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think that would go a long way. You want me to set that up?
Sure.
Just out of curiosity, Tony, was the punch list for 54, has that been completed, do you know?
Well, the windows have.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it turned out that, the older replacement windows, it turned out that they're functional, but they're not easily functional. You really have to put some elbow grease into it. And you have to be like not on a ladder, but, on a stool to be able to get up high enough to be able to get it into position. So, we could replace those windows. Or we could have, now it's on market the way it is.
Can they be fixed?
Yeah, no, they are fixed. They're fixed.
It's just how they work, is what you're saying?
Well, the thing is, Andrew, they didn't work.
They wouldn't close at the top. They are all closed now.
You couldn't lock them.
Yeah, we've got a few like that.
Yeah, I do too. They start dropping about an inch from the top.
Yeah.
And what George from Seat told me was he thinks that when they insulated around the replacement windows, they used the wrong kind of spray foam insulation.
Yeah, they use closed cell foam and expanded too far and
Yep.
warped the.
Yeah, and they make one for windows, and that's why they make it for windows. So this kind of stuff doesn't happen, windows and doors. So that's what he thinks happened.
Anybody
So,
check the heating system?
oh yeah, the gas leak. It took Mr. Jeter at least 2 more trips. He went and he said he fixed it.
There was a gas leak? Is that what I heard you say?
Yes.
There was a minor gas leak. So I went over and, did the soap and water thing on every connection, and I found this small gas leak. So I called Jeter up and, he said, I'll be over there, take care of it. And he was there, I think the next day, maybe 2 days. And all he really did was, it's not a union connection, it's just a coupling connection. So if you know the difference, a union connection, you can screw together as two parts, and a coupling is just one piece of metal that gets screwed into from both ends. With a union, you can make adjustments. With a coupling, what he did was he turned the coupling and it stopped it leaking on one side.
It started leaking on the other side.
So, and I thought that was gonna happen, because after he said he fixed it, I went back the next day, and sure enough, it's like,
Yeah.
and I mean, I gotta say, the email I sent to him was like, Derek, how many times does it take to screw in a heating system? You've been fixing this thing at least a dozen times. And now what you have to do is you have to shut down the gas, you have to cut the pipe, you have to bring it to someplace to have a union put on it. Or you have to disconnect all the piping from the meter
He's gonna work it all the way back down the, yeah.
because you
Yeah.
don't have a union. So I have not been back to check it again, because I think he got the message. No, I'm sorry, I did. There's a union in place, and I couldn't find anything that leaked,
Oh,
so
good.
at least not that moment.
Yeah.
So I have a question regarding the aesthetics of our renovated houses. Who decides what they do in there, inside and out?
Yeah, well, first, to answer that question, I have to explain how we got to the design we got to. And it's a little bit of a story, but if you go back to when round 4.2 was an option for us, we could submit an application. To be able to submit an application, we had to have like 75% of our projects in round 4.1 at a certain point, i.e. you have to be able to pull a permit. And we weren't close to that, so Russ Reeves threw together a design that, and I mean, this has been consistent with everything with enterprise community, rush, just to get the stuff in. And then when you look back, it's like, you know, we missed this, we missed that. The other part to this is engineers are not the most creative people in the world. And Russ Reeves was gonna put wall-to-wall carpeting in. And, you know, we had to say, no, no one wants wall-to-wall carpeting these days. So a lot of the design is due to having to rush. But I do have to say, with 11 Winnie Avenue, you know, I'm really disappointed with Johnny Bobo. I mean, I walked him around the building. I said, look, you put a new front door here and the sheeting is all showing. And, you know, and there's this and there's that and there's that and there's this. And there was a pretty long punch list. And I got a call from Ryan today and he said, do you want me to fill in around the front door? And I said, what do you mean? It's supposed to be filled in? He said, well, it's not. So that's part of the problem too. Johnny, I think, is a great structural guy, but
Not a
not so great
finished
when it
guy.
comes. No, not at all. Not at all.
Big difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So,
is there any way for the land bank, a subcommittee or somebody to look at plans or look at materials or something so that we get things that don't look like crap? I
yeah.
mean, both of those houses
Hallelujah.
are okay. They're not
What-
dreadful.
Well,
But
we had this conversation several months ago and nothing's come of it, but the standard practice is to develop design standards. So when you're putting an RFP together, you know, those specs are there and they're consistent across the board. We can steal them from places like Homes and Community Renewal. Their standards are very high. We can develop our own. You know, back in the 80s when I did housing rehab for Troy, when it was a lot simpler to do, I used to write specs all the time. And we used to have this book, the specs came right out of the book. They were all the same standards. But I think that's what we need is we need a standardized design standards. So that would go a long way. So even if we're in a rush, we have the information that we can pull,
Right.
plug and play, so to speak.
Because if we get those 10 houses or ever many it is for the federal project, this is going to be our big hurrah, and we need to shine. We can't have,
Well,
Flipper's delight.
for those, I can assure you, they'll be held to HCR's housing standards, housing design standards. And actually HCR is planning on relaxing some of their standards because the common belief is they're so high that it's driven up the cost of affordable housing for not very good reasons. So I think one of their design standards is replace the sidewalk every single time, regardless of what it looks like. That's kind of a crazy standard.
Do they have like performance standards too? Like energy and any other, there's any number of metrics for housing that could be used.
I don't think they do. I think it's the New York State Building Code for energy efficiency, because with Legacy City, they're giving more money if people go above and beyond the minimum code standards, which is, R11.
Well, what I hear in my little world of building performance is always that, code is always design materials, but there's hardly any testing. like just build this way, but which is kind of the same thing as, the aesthetic stuff, which is, here's make it look nice, but who decide according to whom and who likes that design or that material, or oh, that's an expensive countertop, yeah, but it's ugly and I don't like it. Oh, but it's solid surface, or I don't know, whatever. I was just curious if
Well, yeah, those are part of design standards.
Show
but
me.
then there's workmanship standards that then you're getting deeper into it, and so workmanship standards work like this. If you're putting up sheetrock, if you take a straight piece of metal and you put it up against the sheetrock, there can't be anything more than a 1/16 inch deviation.
Minimum.
That's getting into the nitty gritty, but that's how you get to higher workmanship standards. And that doesn't mean you're going to go up to every piece of sheetrock and look at it. But when you walk into a room and it looks like crap, then you get out the 10-foot straight piece of metal.
Okay.
So I remember when I was doing housing rehab stuff for the city Troy, actually a Troy fireman was doing a rehab, and he put in all Luan doors, and he just never sanded the doors. He just put on a coat of polyurethane, and they looked like crap. And I had no standards to point to that degree. And it just came down to me saying, I'm not going to sign your payment certificate unless you sand the doors 3 times. Yeah. Poly, sand, poly, sand, poly, sand, poly. That's the customary way to do it, not what you just did. So, I could get away with that back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Back to Suzanne's sort of question before about the actual design, the interior design of projects. Just for instance, at 54 Fifth, have you been in there, Suzanne? Or
No, I
Andrew?
just saw the pictures in the listing.
Okay. I wish you had been in there, but
It's on the list.
well, just as an example, at 54, which turned out, I agree, it's the best example of good work that I've seen in the buildings that we've had anything to do with. But in terms of the overall design, there's just off the kitchen, there's this tiny little room that is, for all intents and purposes, couldn't even, well, I guess you could stick some plants in there, it can't, I don't know the dimensions, but let's say it's 4 by 6. And instead of, having that silly little room there, had anybody with half a brain looked at that, they could have just opened it up and included either, made a
That's great.
pantry out of it, something more useful than what the hell it is, or made more of an open concept.
It's a
for the
closet.
kitchen.
Sounds
But
like a
no,
closet.
it's like this stupid little room that's there. Anyway, it's just.
Yeah, I know the space you mean, and I don't know why it ended up like that.
Well, because no one, it's easier to leave it as it is than to, I guess, figure out or to have a vision to make a better looking first floor.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I just don't, I'd like to talk to Russ Reeves and say, how did it end up like this?
Listen, we cannot rely on Russ Reeves to
We're
do
not.
design work.
We're
We
not.
simply cannot.
Yeah, well, there could have been engineering reason, like, there could be a
A structural of a load bearing wall, I get
which
that,
you
but there
could
are ways
still
to fix
change,
that.
it just
Yeah,
costs more, and you'd have, and let us know, say, well, we could do that, but it would be
Right.
3K, because we got to put in a header, and we got to do a thing, and we got to do it, whatever,
but it's not impossible, Andrew,
Right.
and if it
Never
if it
impossible.
improves the quality of the space by 25%, it's
Yeah.
probably worth it, Anyway, just,
Yeah, well, no, I'm supportive of that. I hope it didn't seem like I wasn't. And so the message we need to convey then to whomever is working on design is what our values are, right? Like that.
well, it can't be Russ.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to be. It's
It
not going
can't
to
be an
be.
engineer. That's
And
not,
it can't be
an
a
architect,
contractor
maybe.
either.
Well,
No,
you
it
know,
shouldn't be the contractor either. It should be somebody who's looked at the space and has some vision of what the hell will make it
Yeah,
not
'cause they're,
only attractive, but know.
they've got a budget of X dollars, and so they get the cheapest stuff possible. And we end up with plastic floors that sound like plastic when you walk on them, and
Russ
cheap
is
tile
a
and all the rest.
Russ is a great structural engineer. He's no architect.
Right. Well, again, God bless him. I'm sure he does great work, but just in the future, if there's any way, we can have some
You know what would
input into how the thing is gonna come out, I think it would be leaps and bounds above how we do things now.
I mean, we'd be able to sell them for more money.
Exactly.
I would think if someone like Sherry had taken a look, she
Oh, for
probably
sure.
would have seen that right off the rip.
She did.
Yeah, she probably did. So, I think that's the kind of
But
person.
it's too
that-
late when the damn thing is already done.
Well, obviously it is, yeah. But I think that's the kind of, look from an expert. That's the kind of expertise before it goes out to bid.
Yeah, another thing, the wood columns that are holding up porches and the wood stairwells and stuff, are they supposed to age gracefully into a lovely gray tone? Because they
Here's
look
the
like
thing.
crap too.
Yeah, here's the thing with that. They're required to be pressure treated or painted. And what everybody does is they put pressure treated wood up, and pressure treated wood, it's great because it doesn't rot for a period of time. But it always cracks and twists, and because it's not painted, it doesn't look good, but it meets code. So that goes back to having design standards. We could say we want pressure treated, and we want that also to be painted, in one color or two colors.
Doesn't pressure treat it, you have to wait like a certain amount of time before you can actually.
You used to have to. You don't anymore. The pressure treatment is not as substantial as it used to be. I mean, frankly, I don't think it's anything like the old stuff, and that might be a good thing because the old stuff had a lot of poison in it. But I think the answer it again comes back to design standards.
Yeah.
And the exterior piece of wood needs to be painted. And there needs to be more detail than just saying that.
Yeah,
You know, if we didn't rush through this thing the way we did,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we play catch up on almost every
we do.
On
This
everything.
whole thing
That
is
is- that
always
is
rush, rush,
the
rush.
cost of all that are these
We
kind of
pay
issues.
we pay in the long run.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know, how do we fix that though? Like, part of that's inherent in the enterprise dynamic, right?
well, they're going away
That's true,
So-
right? Yeah.
for better or worse. You know, the HCR process for Legacy City, that's not gonna be an overnight review. They're gonna take their time going through things. They're known to do that. They're known to take forever to look at things, and they know that's their reputation. So that's why they're relaxing some of their design standards, and they're saying, you know, instead of looking at your application and 6 months later saying yay or nay, we're gonna look at your application, and then we're gonna get together with you to talk through it and work with you as it evolves, which is a much better process. But I don't know how long that process is gonna take. I know Albany just received their first award, and it went in. When I heard that they received an award, I said, well, it's gotta be their second. It was their first. Because it's taken HCR that long to turn it around. And it's also the first application in this new program they've looked at, so there's probably some, that's probably part of the reason.
so do we have time as an organization to put together some standards?
We don't, but we can get some professionals who can, which is really the way to do it. You know, TAP has standards.
Please.
We can look at other, I mean, one of the things we could do is set up a subcommittee to start looking at standards other folks use and go from there.
I mean, I'm willing to be on that committee. I think it's so important that
I
you know,
totally, I do
we-
agree with you.
we up our game here.
Yeah. It's frustrating to rush. And then, you know, have to fill holes and gaps as a result all along the way. And lose money all along the way because of it. So,
And we want to have a quality product, you know. I mean, we never did rehabs before, so we don't have a track record to either go against or defend. But, you know, these are our first two rehabs, and they're kind of, you know.
well, you know, the way we do it is kind of the reverse of the way we should do it. We accept purchase applications and folks are in that application, they're supposed to tell us, and not a lot of words, how they're going to do things. I think we need to say, okay, this is what we expect from you. Here are our design standards. Take a look at it and then submit your purchase application. That would have prevented, you know, the Derek Jeter syndrome. Or at least it would have gone a long way.
Yikes, yeah. Well, I just sort of groaned when you mentioned TAP, only because they get such an overload of work that they end up never being on time either. So
Well, that's
I-
their
I'm
famous.
it's not that I don't appreciate what they do when they do it, but there's got to be like 10,000 other freaking architects in
No,
the
there
area
There are.
that aren't as busy.
So I think we need to have a conversation about where do we want our hurdle height to be in terms of quality. You know, do you want everything granite and marble and, you know, mezzanine tile and all that stuff, or do you want wall-to-wall carpeting? Obviously, neither. So I think we need to have a conversation and maybe look at some finished products that I'm sure we can find online that we can all talk about and get to a place where, yeah, this is where we want to be. You know, working for different cities, I've said to a lot of folks over the years, cities have a certain bar, a certain standards before they'll let developers come in and do things. And the art to progressing as a city is raising that bar a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. If you go to Saratoga Springs in the 70s, there was no bar. And now the bar is so high, nobody can afford to live there. Troy's bar is going up. And, you know, frankly, the land bank we haven't been able to even set a bar because we've been rushing through things as much as we have been. So we need to really we need to figure out where we want our bar to be.
Well, maybe that's something we should bring up at our next monthly meeting.
The board
Put it on
meeting?
the agenda.
For the board?
Yeah.
Yep, or even just how do we even just make that decision? I feel like we have to have a meeting to figure out how to have a meeting. Like that's a hard question, right? Like what standard are we setting for ourselves, and how do we decide what that is tricky, because you know the funding is a big question too, right? And our potential buyers, like, oh, we could spend, if we, presuming we had it, tons of money and build amazing properties, and who's buying those? Like, who are we trying to serve?
Yeah, it should be, yeah,
that
affordable
seems very
housing is a tough
know.
nut.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
But I think they're certainly, I mean, if we look at the difference in the quality between the Derek Jeter job he did on 6th Avenue, and when we look at 54 Fifth, it's leaps and bounds above what he did there, what Jeter
Sure.
did at 6th.
Oh,
So minimally, I would say those standards at least have, 54 as a starting point.
well, and people take better care of nicer things.
Very true.
Like that, I it stuck with me forever reading about quote unquote green building, and one of the greenest things to do is to make it look nice, because then it doesn't, get
Right.
it
You
doesn't
want to
fall
take care
apart
of it,
because
have a
people
little
take care of it,
pride.
which means that
Right.
100 will still be there. Like, and I was like, oh yeah, that really makes sense.
Yeah, and just because someone is of a lower income level doesn't mean they don't have any taste,
Right. Of
Right.
course.
or that they
Exactly.
deserve to live in crap, so
No,
especially with crap with our name on it.
no.
Indeed.
I mean, we don't have to have, Carrara marble countertops and Wolf ranges, but that doesn't mean we accept the bottom end of whatever's in the on sale bin.
Or that we accept, a bad floor plan,
Right.
and that's where I see it gets tricky, is like, so we have limited resources, we want the nicest, quote unquote nicest we can get out of that. What's the most important thing? And I'm always like, put in a cheap countertop, because you can replace that easily. Somebody can buy that, and in 5 years they can put in a granite countertop or whatever is du jour then.
That's exactly what George said at SEAT. He said, I mean, he and I were talking and making some decisions, and I said, I want hardwood floors all the way through. And he said, are you okay with sheet vinyl on the floors instead of tile? And Formica, preformed Formica countertops. And I said, well, personally, I would like to see something nicer on the floor than sheet vinyl. But he kind of convinced me that the sheet vinyl has gotten better, and it's definitely worth its value. Hardwood floors, the pre-finished 3/4 inch tongue and groove, old school hardwood floors are going to be there forever, and they just look terrific. The Formica countertops, as soon as he said, it's like, yeah, we don't want granite in here. And he said to me, somebody could always put it in later. So,
Right.
you guys are thinking along the same lines.
Like you said, with the Wolf stove, well, someone else can buy that. We need
Right.
to.
Yeah, but we could have a
Yeah.
spec that calls for, you know, a certain type of refrigerator. You can't put a name on it, but you can spec it out so everybody knows what the name is. Or, you know, or approved equivalent.
Yeah,
So, and that's what design standards are all about.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. I mean, I wasn't saying we don't, I mean, maybe we could have both, if you could have both of those things or multiples, then yeah, sure. But there's a point where we'll have to, pick one over the other, and that's where I think we want to be, sort of thoughtful as to where we start, prioritizing.
Yeah, my thing is not that we have super duper materials, it's just that we have good materials. A good Formica countertop, not a cheap, crappy Formica countertop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
the
and I would say
workmanship.
a good front door, right? Like,
Yeah,
that door every day, a cheap, nothing. When I go see a building with a cheap door, like it's like that's
yeah, if they
like
put a cheap front door in, you're
yeah,
gonna be disappointed.
a good door, and even getting onto other designs, good as much as we control it, not so much on rehabs, but good window placements and just again floor plan, like that's start with the floor plan and
well, I gotta say for 54 Fifth Avenue, the thing that I was kind of surprised Ross Reeves put in there was installing those front stairs that go down into the basement. I mean, they're great, but they came at a certain expense. And they could have replaced the old stairs in the back and that would have been perfectly fine. So that was an expense that I don't know that we got a whole lot of value out of. I think it was good because they probably taught the youth build kids how to build stairs. That's probably a driving factor, but things like that. It's like, why did we do that?
yeah, well, that makes me very uncomfortable. If you say, like, if they made a decision of a costly one for the purposes of teaching on our property.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
all
I
for
know.
teaching, but like, there's not going to be another chance to build a staircase. So you got to put one in, just make work. Come on. So, yeah. Anyway, I could go on and on. It's really interesting and very important. And yes, and I want to be a part of that conversation too. So I don't know how much further we need to go with it
Yeah,
tonight.
and it's getting late. It's almost 6 o'clock. So
I'll make a
let's-
motion to adjourn.
yeah,
So
sure.
before we do, can we recap? So Tony's gonna make a Google Doc for punch list items for both us and website designers.
Correct.
And so we'll be looking for that, Tony.
Yep, I hear you.
And regarding real estate, we're going to arrange a meeting with
Sherry.
Sherry and her crew.
Talk about process and
Yeah,
and other things.
yeah.
Are they now? So I forget which iteration of our real estate representatives had a standing invitation to come to the marketing meeting. Does that still hold? Did they know about
Oh,
this?
Oh, yeah, Sherry.
Yeah.
She was asked not to attend this because we were going to be discussing.
Oh, okay. Which is fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Although
Wait for our next meeting to do a meeting with them or sooner. I would think maybe sooner, but I don't know.
So while we're on that topic, when do you want to meet again? It's almost February.
Well, we may
meet-
have yeah, we're gonna want to follow up with the website, right?
Right.
Relatively soon. But then Tony's also gonna get busy.
That's what the sooner the better, because once the audit kicks off the second or third week of February, and it's usually from that point until April 1st that my life it's just
A living hell.
Yeah, it is.
Tony, how soon can we expect that Google Doc to be up?
I could try to do it tonight.
I mean, if that's up within a day or two, we give ourselves you know what, until the next week to put stuff on there.
Yeah, I mean, today's the 18th. A week from today is the 25th. And then the following week is getting into February, and the 4th is the Friday of February.
Is anybody available next week if we can schedule a meeting with Sherry?
I
I
could.
don't know what anybody's availability is
available,
or
except
Sherry's.
I'm currently pending jury duty each week
that's
for the
right.
next week. So I gotta check in on Thursday. It's federal grand jury in Albany. So Thursday nights I check in, and then it's been 2 weeks I haven't had to come in. I got 2 more check-ins. So if I have to show up, then I don't know what happens for how long, but I could be free and clear on Thursday night once I check in for next week, so otherwise I'm pretty free.
Tuesday next week is A&D and exec.
Okay.
You want to check with Sherry or?
Yeah, maybe
Uh,
we can get some dates from her. And then we can see where we can fit into that. And if we can get a meeting in before Tony goes into lockdown,
Yeah, that'd be great.
and we can certainly work on our lists and whatnot, without having to sit here and talk to each other. We can add to the Google lists and send emails if we need to.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we need to get feedback to the website people soon, so they can get back to us soon because of that March deadline, which overlaps with Tony's. I'm going to be busy anyway.
Right. Do you guys feel comfortable with having our comments in by this Friday?
Whoa.
I'm sure I can, provided the doc is there. I mean,
Yeah, I can.
I don't know that I'll have as many as there should be, but I'll have all
Well,
those to come up with.
At least a starting point.
Do you want to say Monday so you have the weekend?
Yeah, okay. So by the 24th, which is next Monday.
Works for me.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. So hopefully you guys will see Google Docs come your way later tonight.
Okay. And then we can figure out Sherry and later. I mean, we need to do it, but this is more important. So
I think so, yeah.
You don't necessarily need to be there to have the conversation. If you really want to get it done.
Yeah, we can set something up.
yeah, we don't need you, Tony.
You're not really that important.
I get that a lot. I get that a lot.
Okay, so we'll do that, and we'll figure the rest out later. So I guess now we can adjourn.
Yes, I'll second whoever.
Jeanette,
Sure.
Yeah, Jeanette made the motion.
I'll
Andrew
second.
second. All in favor? Aye, aye, aye.
adjourned at
And I think it
5:57.
was a good meeting, so thanks, everybody.
Yep,
Thank you.
agree.
Okay,
See you soon.
All right. Catch you
dinner
guys.
time.
Catch you on Google Docs.
Thank you.